Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kortiwada. In this video, we will learn about one of the hook called as use effect. So we learned about how to use state. Now we will be tracking all the details of that use state by using use effect. So let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code and try to understand what are the scenarios which we can cover in use effect. So here use effect performs lot of different operations based on the parameters we pass to that particular use effect. So first let's learn about the definition and how exactly this use effect can be written on a React component. So we can write that by using use effect keyword, which is from React, and you can see it is a named function, and that is what it is used as a named export. And now what I'm doing is it is having two parameters. One parameter is a callback function, that is the first parameter, and the second parameter could be anything with an array where you can track all the details. I'll explain you exactly about the second parameter. But if you are not giving any of the value for the second parameter, how it behaves. First, let's go and create our state. So let me create a state called as random number, and let me use set random number, and let me go here. I'll use state of, I want to give 0. So now what I want to do is I want to add a button and update random number. So what I'll do, I'll just use a on click event, and let me do one thing. Just set this random number with math dot. I can use something like a random number from the math library. So let me save this and let me write console.log of. Just I'm using use effect with no values and save this. Now let me show this random number with a paragraph, and I'm showing the random number and save this. Go here. Now you can see the random number over here. What I'll do is I'll update this random number. When I updated this random number, there is a use effect which was triggering over here. So you can see use effect with no values. What I'll do is I'll add one more state, const count, and I'm using set count, and let me use state of 0 again, and let me give comma, and let me display the count value over here with one more paragraph, or let me do that below. I'm using one more paragraph where I'm showing the count value, and the count value is this one. And let me use the button, copy this, put it over here, and I'm using set count with the previous count plus 1. So let me use count plus 1, update count, and save this. Now go here, let me refresh this. So for the first time it showed two values, and let me clear this off. Let me click update random. It is showing use effect with no value. Let me click again. It's shown 2 times. Now I'm clicking update count. It's shown 3 times. And whatever or whenever we are changing the state, the use effect is getting called. That means when you are giving the second parameter with no values, it will update always whenever there is a state update. It will not depend on any of the state. So it is always a risky part. So this way we should not use effect. It is not recommended to, because if you have 10 states, it will not depend on the 10 states. Whatever it gets updated, it will call this use effect. So let me write one more use effect where I want to give the second parameter as empty array. So whenever we are using an empty array, use effect with empty values and save this. Now how many times it is calling, let's see. Let me go here, clear this off, refresh, and now you got 2 times. Actually it's in developer mode, so that's why you are seeing 2 times this values. And once after seeing this on load console, you will not see this value ever. If I click this, nothing is getting triggered in the use effect. If I click count value, nothing is triggered. That means whenever you give an empty array, that will be called only once whenever you are loading your component. So that is the second way of usage of use effect. Whenever you want to call an API, get the data on the load of a component, then you can use this approach. So let me comment this. Now the third way of usage, let me go with use effect with a callback function, and I want to use something called as count and save this. Now let me use console.log of. So now whenever I update the set count or any of the setter variable of the use state is an asynchronous content and asynchronous method. So it always delays in updating the UI. So once the UI is updated and the set count is updated, then immediately it will call the respective use effects. Respective use effects in the sense wherever I give the dependency as a count, only that use effect will be called. Let me go here and clear this off, refresh. First time it's shown 0, and now let me click on update. It is not calling the use effect, but when I click on update count, it is calling the use effect and the updated value you can see. This is a problem where I shown you in use state. Whenever you are updating the set state, that is not updating your value as it is in the console as well as in the UI. Now both are updated in parallel. So that is how you can use effect with a dependency. If you have a dependency, when that dependency updates, it calls this useEffect function. So whenever you have an ID and if the ID gets changed, immediately if you want to do some sort of operation, then you can use this useEffect with that particular dependency called as an ID. So if I give something called as random number, so whenever there is an update in the random number, this useEffect will be called, and whenever there is an update in the count, it calls. For example, I will show you something like useEffect with both states and save this. Now go here, clear this off, let me refresh and click this. So now on random number it called, on count it called, but if you have other states it will not call because the dependencies are only two, random number and the count value. So that's how you can use multiple dependencies for the same execution of logic. You can use this type of use effect, and you can create separate use effects as well. For example, I'll go with use effect of, and then I'll be creating a dependency with random number. And now what I'll say is use effect with count, and let me copy this, put it over here, and use effect with random number. When my random number gets updated, this use effect will execute. When my count value is updated, then this use effect will execute. Let me go here, refresh, clear this off. Let me click on random number, only random number use effect called. When I click on count, only the count value got called. For example, if you put this random number here and save this, it will call both this random number use effect and this random number use effect. Let me go here, clear this off, and when I click random number, it called both count and random number. When I click on count, it called only the count. When I click on random number, again the count has been called and random number also called. So it always follows the sequence how you define your use effect. And also we can use multiple use effect. We can use multiple use effect with same dependency also. In that way we can use effects. And the last case is use effect to clear all the unwanted data. For example, you have some set of listeners and the listeners will be running in the background on the window browser and you want to clear that off. Whenever you want to clear that off, your use effect with empty array, that means like type of constructor or initial method, it has to return a callback. So whenever a use effect with empty array and it returns something like a function, then whatever you are executing a logic inside that function, that will be a clean sweep function. For example, you have two listeners and you want to clear that listeners. So this is the place you can clear that listeners whenever your application or your app component is moving out. That is also one thing. And the second thing is, for example, you have some set of timers, and if you want to stop the timers whenever the user exits that component, then you can use this return. So as of now, I can't demonstrate this because we didn't went through the routing concept. Once we are in the routing concept, I can explain you how this exactly works. For now, you remember this return statement should have a logic where you can perform all the cleanup functionalities. So that's how you can use useEffect. UseEffect can be used with parameters, without parameters, at the initialization time, and whenever it is destroying your component. All these cases we can use our useEffect. That's it for this video. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.